It's a new week. Welcome to Business Incorporated, coming to you live from Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you for joining us. I'm Chimeze Obi Iwagu. On the program today, Ethiopian Airlines plans to buy 10 of Airbus' newest A350 wide-body jets in a transaction worth more than $3 billion. Rating agency Moody's says the steep decline in South Africa's business confidence is a setback to economic growth recovery. Plus, Uganda's central bank cuts lending rate to 10%. Let's get started with the markets now. Well, it's a beautiful start for most of the markets in Africa today, as all the markets are in the green. At intraday, the NSE All-Share Index was trading up 0.33%. The Johannesburg Stock Exchange was up 0.76%. The market in Egypt was trading up 0.13%, and Kenya was up 0.75%. That was on Friday. In the Middle East, most stock markets there were marginally higher, shrugging off week of oil prices as investors focused on local corporate and market news. Shares of Dubai's National Central Cooling Corporation surged 15% daily limit to 2.12 dirhams after French power and gas group NGSA agreed to buy 40% stake for 2.8 billion dirhams from majority owner Abu Dhabi's Mubadala. The Dubai index was up 0.41%. And blue chips in Saudi Arabia helped support that benchmark, which was up 2.70%. Shares of some companies expected to benefit from the MSCI decision to put Saudi Arabia on review for an upgrade to its emerging market group were resilient. Dairy producer Almari rose 0.1%. Meanwhile, Qatar's index lost 1.02% as the largest petrochemical producer, Industries Qatar, dropped 2% as Brent contracts fell to $47.26 a barrel. Abu Dhabi also dropped 0.21%. And in Europe, bourses there were higher in early trades as investors shifted their attention to political events across Europe. Let's get details from my colleague in Frankfurt, Daniel Koop. Good afternoon, Daniel. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hi, Chimi. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Well, it's a beautiful beginning, even though we're having some disappointment there coming from the internet. But that's okay. We're going to have a beautiful show today. Brexit negotiations are starting off today. Give us the latest.
Well, I can tell you this is a very interesting question, actually, because just 10 minutes ago, I actually had the opportunity to talk to a trader here on the floor about this topic. And let me just make this very clear to you. Many investors here in Frankfurt, but also at stock markets all around Europe, they don't really know what they can expect, from Brexit. Also, the rather poor election results from Prime Minister Theresa May is not making traders optimistic that she will have a strong and powerful position during the Brexit negotiations. And of course, also the economical data that we are actually receiving from the United Kingdom with a slower growing economy and also with a projection that this is not going to change very soon, is really raising the question why Britain is not maybe even talking about a soft exit from the Brexit, basically. Also, when you talk, for example, about consumer prices, they also were up with more than 2.9% in the last time. So many investors here, I can tell you, in Frankfurt are really wondering if in which direction, those Brexit negotiations will really lead to.
Well, Daniel, a lot of political news coming out there from Europe. French President Emmanuel Macron strengthened his political position over the weekend after securing a majority in the country's parliamentary election. What is Macron pushing for in terms of his business perspective?
Yeah, this is a very good question because when we look at France and how France has been doing during the last years, we see that there were actually lots of problems. They have a very high unemployment rate. Mostly young people in France have really sometimes trouble to find a job. Also, the economy is not growing as fast as it should be. And France also has a much bigger national debt when you compare this, for example, with Germany, where I am right now. And all of this pretty much is on the agenda of Emmanuel Macron. I just want to give you another detail, actually, that I found very interesting, because he really says that he wants to push those reforms as soon as possible. He even skipped his vacation because he really wants, those things to be on the way as soon as possible. When he was still working under former President Hollande, he even considered, by the way, to step out of politics because he said that the traditional parties in France are not ready and willing to establish radical reforms. We can hear basically that he wants to establish changes mostly regarding the labor law and also regarding social security law. But even though he might get this through Parliament, already worker unions in France have announced that they don't agree with many of those things that he's actually proposing. France is a country that is known for a very, very strong worker union. So we might see again in the future strikes and big demonstrations of those worker unions to take place.